going out of doors required the change in dress. So if the lady was planning to go out of doors, she would definitely remove her undress and put on some version of a day dress. And what would the ladies be normally doing during the day if they did not have to work? We are talking about the rich sections of the society who could afford to have non-working wives. They would go shopping normally, or they would go visiting. The practice of visiting, or as the Victorians would put it, paying calls, was a very important social custom that was really something that occupied much of the time of middle and upper middle and perhaps even upper class ladies. These were formal short visits to friends and acquaintances. They didn't have the internet, they didn't even have the telephone, so if you wanted to keep contact with someone, you could write a letter, which would take a while to be delivered and answered, or you could visit in person. So if people wanted to maintain social contact with people living nearby, the calls were really the most important thing. These visits were short, usually no longer than half an hour, sometimes even shorter, and they were quite formalized. So it wasn't by, I don't know, sisters or very close friends, it was by acquaintances. So this was a matter of politeness and let's say social interaction. Sometimes they marked an occasion, like announcement of an engagement or birth, or the arrival of a new bride to her first home, or some newcomers to a neighborhood, or people coming back after a longer holiday. So the idea was that on a specific day a woman was at home, so she was willing to accept guests. They did not need an invitation. These were called morning calls, but they were usually not only in the morning, they could be even between, let's say, 1 p.m. and even 5 p.m. so definitely before dinner. The reason why they are called morning calls is that the lady who was the hostess could wear morning dress, could wear her undress. Of course, the visitors would come wearing day dresses. So this was a very complicated social practice, requiring not only appropriate clothes, but also leaving visiting cards. There was very difficult etiquette involved with introductions and calling and leaving cards. We don't really have time for that. This was of course between, let's say, fairly wealthy families, those in which women did not work for money. But just to indicate what women were doing, if they were walking, if they intended to walk, they would wear slightly shorter dresses, the so-called walking length dresses. The exact length really depends on the style, but they are usually short enough not to train on the ground. They never have it, well, or never, almost never have a train. They are practical, modest, usually more weatherproof than other styles. They are very often, in the end of the 19th century, they are in the style of the tailor-made costume. So simple, sober skirt of a woolen fabric with a matching jacket. This is something that was a development of a horse riding costume. We'll talk about it later on. So if the lady was going out in a carriage, The dress could be a bit more elaborate and expensive and a bit more formal than a walking dress. She would normally wear a dress that would be longer and made of more delicate material and have a brighter color than the walking dress. What was important was the accessories. So of course the dress needed everything that the fashion required, so all the so-called dress improvers, that is the pieces of underwear that changed the shape of the body. We'll talk about the underwear a bit later today. But on top of that, there were some things dictated by social custom. So first of all, some kind of headwear for men and women. Absolutely, you wouldn't leave your home without a headwear. Gloves for men and women, and some sort of outer clothing which really depended on the time of year and the weather. It would be either something that would add warmth, like a mantle or a pelerine or a kind of coat, really, worn in the colder season. Or it could be something lightweight, like a shawl, a delicate lace shawl or something like that in the summer, just for propriety and modesty, rather than anything connected with the weather. Also, if the sun was shining, the lady would normally carry a parasol. So not an umbrella against the rain, but especially if she was traveling in an open carriage and she was exposed to the sunlight, nobody wanted to have suntanned skin. So of course much of the skin would be covered and also shaded by the brim of the bonnet. But also, as added protection, a lady would carry a parasol, so a kind of a little bit like umbrella, but made of more delicate fabric, not waterproof, and intended to create extra shade for the sun. And there were all kinds of variations of day dresses, and the day dresses are also the kind of garments that indicate the styles very much, and they change with the changing styles. They could be more elegant for more elegant occasions, such as 5 o'clock tea, for example, or garden parties, or some, I don't know, charity bazaars that were very popular, or church going on Sunday. This was a formal occasion, so you would wear your Sunday best clothes, and except for the really poor who did not have a second change of clothes, you would wear a formal day dress and the bonnet. There were also rules of behavior concerning day clothes for men. We'll talk about them a little later, but they generally follow the same rules of style as female dress, and to some extent also the rules of appropriateness. So, for example, the clothes worn by gentlemen during the day would be lighter in color than normally the clothes that they would wear in the evening. So here we have again a selection of different day clothes from the long 19th century. So the first ones come from the 1790s, and I just want to show you different types of day clothes, the importance of accessories. Perhaps you'll start to familiarize yourself with the styles. We are going to talk about this first style, so from the time of the revolution to the fall of Napoleon. But don't worry so much about the shapes of garments, the shapes of hats. but rather note that all these ladies are wearing some kind of headwear, all these ladies are wearing some kind of outer garment, they have accessories that really depend on the weather sometimes. So there could be a fur muff in winter or a fan in summer. So either to provide warmth or to provide a bit more, let's say, movement of the air. Very often the ladies could carry handbags or other containers like baskets for the things they might have with them while walking, or for example to hide a book. You can see a few women in the fashion plates from the neoclassical period enjoying reading a book in the open air. So they walk somewhere, they sit somewhere under a tree and read poetry. Yes, well, this is what they might do. Sometimes the fashion plates also contrast the day dress either with the morning dress, so you have the hostess wearing the morning dress and the guest wearing the day dress, or with the evening dress, so you have one woman wearing a day costume and another wearing a much more formalized and expensive and revealing evening wear. We'll talk about evening wear in a little while, but here you have a few examples of such contrasted images. You can hopefully see the differences. Of course, the headwear, the outer garments, the accessories are different. Also, the length of the sleeves, the depth of the décolletage is different as well. So in the summer we have many women carrying parasols. In the winter we have warmer outer garments, sometimes trimmed with fur, or fur scarves like boas made of fur, or muffs for hand warming made of fur. When the style changes, the shape of the dress would be different, but these considerations would not change. So in the Romantic period we have the hourglass figure with emphasis on the shoulders and the big decorative hats, but if you compare a day dress with an evening dress, you will see the lower décolletage in the evening dress, the shorter sleeves in the evening dress, the lighter collar, probably also a lighter material, because the evening dresses would be normally worn out of indoors, and the day dresses would be worn out of doors. So we have all kinds of images from the Victorian period, from the crinoline period, from the bustle period, from the Belle Epoque, for different occasions. Sometimes we see the hostess and guest situation. Sometimes we see people having a walk in the park, for example. And here, for example, there is a fashion plate from the Victorian period, but from a Polish magazine. The same rules. It's really international. If you could afford it, you would follow the European fashion. So here we have two ladies and a gentleman taking a stroll in the park. Then we have again a difference between a day dress and an evening dress. You can see live flowers as decoration for the evening dress. You don't really have that in day dresses. This fashion plate actually shows the difference between also a type of dress worn by an older woman and a younger woman. So possibly this could be a situation when a mother prepares a daughter to go out to a ball. Really hard to say whether the mother would be going as well or the daughter would be going with some other members of the family. I would say that the mother is wearing a day dress rather than an evening dress, but sometimes really respectable matrons, elderly ladies, might be wearing something like that in the evening as well, rather than more revealing clothes. In the 70s and later, we have fashion plates that combine different clothes. So I hope you can see which clothes in those collected images are day clothes and which of them are evening clothes. Of course, judging by the accessories, by the colors, by the length of sleeves, and in the last image from this set, you have the Belle Epoque ladies wearing beautiful day dresses. Again, a kind of stroll in the park situation. So let's now move on to the evening.